Yeah. When I think of AI, I think of like limitless creativity options for me, right? I use it to take those little ideas that I have and help me kind of make them into something bigger. So very interesting. Like for me, AI, being an AI robot would be, I mean, some people I think I am now. They joke. We got one engineer that jokes I'm a robot all the time. I am not. If I was AI, I would be leveraging it in much different ways. I would be unstoppable.
This is Technophile Real Talk. Thank you to this episode's sponsor, Checkpoint Software.
Welcome back. It is Technophile Real Talk. And guess what movie we're doing today? This one I've been talking about for probably the last every single episode for season 2. And I've been talking about doing it with a twist. So I cannot help but say welcome back, Jessica, Patricia. And we have a new guest here, Tammy. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hey, Syya.
Okay, this is unusual because we have a little bit more than normal, but there's a reason behind it. It is because we're doing the movie Metropolis, the 1920, is it 29? 29? 27. See, look, 7-9, same to me in my brain. Actually, it matters. It actually matters what year this is, because the reason why I asked you ladies to come back and plus invite Tammy is because I thought it would be kind of fun to review Metropolis from the lens of our own generations and as females in tech. So we have got a bunch of different angles here we can go and approach this, or we could just simply respond to it as we would as normal human beings. It doesn't matter, but I figured it'd be kind of a cool angle. So ladies, are you up for something like slightly different?
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Okay. So in the back room, the green room, I was chatting it up with Tammy. So Tammy, because you are the latest and greatest to the crew here, could you help me understand exactly? You're in computer science. I understand you're still getting your degree?
Yes, I'm currently my second year, so almost my third, but yeah, I'm studying computer science right now.
Okay, why did you pick computer science of all the many degrees out there?
Oh, wow. I chose it because I just like problem solving, and whenever I started to code, I felt like I could find a solution more efficiently through tech, so yeah.
Interesting. Okay, now let's be brutally honest, because we do have some parents in our midst. Were you encouraged by your parents, or is it something a family like member, or on your own? You're like, meh, I'm trying it.
I wasn't encouraged by my family. Actually, I was kind of discouraged because my family's more traditional and they want me to go typical like doctor. Lawyer. Yeah, but just being in school, I was able to explore, and I had the opportunity to go into different programs and see what I liked.
Very cool. So you're enjoying yourself. Now, I know you're enjoying yourself. Let me rephrase that, because we know you're enjoying yourself. Of course, all the professors out there, give a raise. What's your future career? What exactly do you want to do with your degree?
With my degree, I'd hopefully want to go into either like software engineering or software development, but not influenced at all, but I also wanted to look into cybersecurity and explore that as well, but I just haven't had the opportunity just yet.
Let me tell you, cybersecurity is job security. Legit. I don't know of all the industries out there, like if you want to have a guaranteed job, it's going to be in cyber. Just saying. So, okay, Jessica, Patricia, any thoughts that you'd like to add or guidance for Tammy as she jumps into her career?
Cyber. Well, you just can't go wrong with anything computers either. So even from 100 years ago, right? Technology was so ingrained in the idea and the concept of what the future is going to be, and that nothing has changed today.
Patricia?
Pretty much the same. You can't go wrong.
I know. Isn't it crazy? And the fact that we're going to be reviewing Metropolis, 1927. So this is like almost 100 years ago this movie has been made. So it's going to be really intriguing. Raise your hand. Who's seen the full movie?
Oh. So hard. It was so hard.
Okay, Jessica, that face, why was it hard for you?
Listen, maybe I haven't, was born a little bit before the whole, 30-second clips and attention span, but watching an entire movie with no dialogue, like it was implied, but apparently that's just not enough for me. It was rough.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Patricia, I know it's been a while for you, and you've seen, more or less bits and pieces of it.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts based on that statement, that it was too slow, or is it just hard to connect without the voices?
It's hard to connect without voices, and it's very bleak in black and white and gray. I guess black, white, well, actually, it's more black and gray than actual white. And
It's like a sepia.
It's very bleak. It's very dystopian. It's just it is not an uplifting movie.
That too.
I did try to watch the whole thing, and then I pretty much just settled on clips here and there because it's just like, this is a lot. It's heavy.
It is heavy.
For no dialogue, it's an incredibly heavy movie.
I was, goodness gracious, the name's eluding me. And you would think I would have taken notes for this, you guys, but the director, right, I believe is German.
Yes, it is. It's a German movie. Yep.
It's a German movie. And the crazy part to me though is this is what they thought 2025, 2027 was going to look like, right? And I'm going to argue, I'm going to say, yes, it's obviously a fantasized version, but I don't think we're that far off, like mentally. But I'm going to, before we spill the beans here, any thoughts before we actually review the movie itself? So Tammy, you've never seen this, right? Have you heard of Metropolis?
No.
Oh, this is gonna be so fun. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my God. I'm almost gonna cry. Okay. So it's like the antithesis. Again, I think our attention spans now is so vastly different from then. So you're pointing out something, Jessica, that I can see where maybe Tammy's generation might have to say, wait, stop, slow down, pause. I need to read the dialogue. Because there are some scenes where it went a little fast, I think, but I'm not going to spill the beans too much. So ladies, I'm just going to ask, on a scale of 1 to 10, Tammy, you know nothing. So this is just a total stab, guess in the dark. How accurate do you think it's going to be of how they predict the future? How accurate do you think this movie is?
And this is for guess? Tammy.
This is for Tammy to start. Yeah, Tammy, you first.
I'd say, without knowing anything, I would guess a 5.
Oh, someone's a gambler. They're hedging their averages. Okay, good job. Jessica?
Technically, I think they're about 8. A lot of the conceptually, they're an 8.
Okay. Patricia?
I'm going 10 because I've been around in computers for a long time, and I don't want to spoil anything for Tammy, but there's some depictions that I tell myself, hey, I worked on that. And the young people laugh at that because it's like, that's the size of a semi truck. Well, yep. Used to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, without further ado, everyone, are we ready for our first clip?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right, let's do it, ladies. Oh, we still have taxis. The transportation looks like roller coasters. Oh, energy conservation. Look at the transportation, you guys.
Planes, trains, automobiles.
Traffic. I'm intrigued by their vision of skyscrapers. That looks like a pagoda back there, doesn't it? Forced
like
perspective.
Capitol.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We still don't have flying airplanes of this nature.
No. I think that one is a flying bus, though.
I think you're right. I think you're right. All right. So, okay. Opening sequence of the cityscape. I'm gonna reverse the order here. Patricia, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it looks like it's rush hour in Metropolis. And I tell you, as I'm looking at that and going, oh, everybody's going to work and everybody's scoring, the music in the background feels so energetic compared to how bleak the scene looks to me. It looks very gray. I kind of see the grayness as like smog and pollution. But then there's this musical score in the background that I'm going, I don't quite feel like those two fit together. I would have been I'm not at all musical, but if I were, I'd have been very discouraged if I had to do the musical score for Cityscape, because mine would have been very depressing. Monday, back to work.
Well, it's Metropolis apparently is now considered part of the public
domain.
The public domain.
Yeah.
So people on YouTube have been scoring their own music to it. So there's like a whole bunch of channels of composers who have done their own music to Metropolis. So if you want to check that out, definitely would highly recommend you go look. It's interesting how, like you said, the different take on the music. I believe in this component, in this scene, I think it was supposed to be like the idea of March of Progress, like above ground, it's future forward, there's movement, activity, humans are productive, which is going to contrast with just going to come down the pike, right, with underground. But I think that, at least to me, I think that was supposed to be his vision, but I can see it where, no, this is all negative. It all sucks. This future sucks. Jessica, what do you think?
Different levels of economy, because there's the different modes of transportation, like the flying bus. Wouldn't that be cool to commute? And then there's everybody who's stuck in their cars in rush hour. And then there's the subway, which is probably crowded. So it was very interesting to see the different levels. And then
the flying bus is crazy because we think about it.
I just think of how this actually looked on set. They didn't have any computer generated animation. So therefore, this was probably all like a tiny little diorama that you made when you were in elementary school, with tiny little people like doing like a little wire that you can't see, doing like flying the little tiny airplanes and stuff. And it's probably like a tiny toy train set. So I think about that was probably fun to do back in the 20s.
Oh, that you're right on that, like a diorama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, though, I mean, how forward future thinking for, I can't remember the guy's name. I almost went Herzig or something like that. I'm so terrible, everyone. I'm so sorry. But for the director and the cinematographer and all the, like, how amazing in the 20s to be so innovative. Because even Star Trek, 1977, right? The first one still used those dioramas and forced perspectives and, gosh, poor Tammy. She's like, yeah, they're old school too. So Jessica, what did you think?
My first thought was, welcome to Dallas, right? Like one of the things that endears me to the Dallas-Fort Worth area is the infrastructure of our roads. And I always thought that coming down here for the first time that they were so advanced. And I love that about the area. But even back in 1927, conceptually, they had this idea of the different levels of roads, the different modes of transportation, all kind of coexisting, going the same place, right? It wasn't, just the train taking you here, the bus gets you here. It's all of these different ways of transportation are going to get you to the same spot, depending on what you want to choose. And then it brings me hope for like the bullet train from Dallas to Houston too, right? Like I see that, I'm like, this is what they thought of 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. We need to step up our game a little bit. I feel like we're behind. This is 100 years of thought, and this is where we're at now. Maybe we haven't come so far, but at the same time, we've come so far.
I hear you on that. Okay. Yeah. I'm super excited. I'm sorry. Tammy, I got to ask. What do you think?
Well, I think so. I live in Arlington currently, and I think it's the largest city without public transportation. So the only way we can get places is, just driving. And seeing this clip with all, the different hierarchies of modes of transportation, I feel a little envious. I wish we could have access to like the different levels of and different modes of like sometimes I don't want to take my car, gas is expensive, but I do notice like the what what Patty said, do I call it? But with the music and the soundtrack, it is that marching forward towards the future, but I do see where the cognitive dissonance happens because, oh, we're going towards the future, but I feel like there's always a little voice in the back of our head, like, is this really good for us? Are we really advancing towards something? Or are we, I don't know how to say this.
Marching to our demise?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a very fair argument because though it hasn't been introduced just yet, but AI is at the root source of the turning point of society being a well-structured, oiled machine to what chaos is going to ensue in the later scenes of this movie.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think there's, at least for me, my first impression, there's a certain semblance of like orderliness, structure, that it's like a true machine that in essence, we're all cogs in a wheel, even humans, even in this path to, the future. I think it's almost like we've lose a bit of autonomy. And I think that's the vibe I got, even in the most affluent, most, segment of society. And that's what this opening scene is. So, okay. Now, Tammy, that you've seen the first scene, though, and based on all the other things that we had been talking about, is this what you expected of a movie from 100 years ago?
No, I think it's actually a lot more accurate than the 5 I gave it. So,
okay. So, any other thoughts, ladies? And maybe we can punch on into scene 2 if you guys are interested. All right. Okay. So, if that's the case, let's get ready for scene 2. Get her all hooked up, you guys.
I mean, definitely, like, right off the bat, Frankenstein. Like, that's got to
Look at the cabling. You guys, there's no spaghetti wires. The cabling looks pretty. I'm going to cry. It's pretty. Look at that fire. Like, that's supposed to be the power source.
That's right.
So crazy. Just the depiction of power and energy. Look at that. Someone with a flashlight, probably.
That's right. Look at those creepy eyes.
Look at his outfit, though. That's crazy. They thought that we'd be wearing flowing jackets.
I mean, I think that was on the runway this year, wasn't it? No?
Yeah, again. Look at that. I mean, look at that animation. Like,
Wow.
This is pre-CGI world, people.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is original music, by the way. This one.
This music matches a little bit more to the scenes than the previous one, I think.
I think the music, yeah. I think this is, I pulled this from one of those composers I was telling you about.
I mean, we're talking like electric power, hydropower.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of different sources to make this happen.
I'm just look at that, you guys. I can't even do that. Like, and love that the pulling the lever is still connotes a little bit mechanical, still analog action. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is crazy to me that he knew how to fade out.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Oh, poor Maria.
Oh, Maria. Okay, guys, Maria's transformation. I'm going to go to you first, Tammy, because this one to me is like, I think this is a very, for lack of a better term, I think this is like a sexy scene.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in media, this kind of like is the beginning of, the female like robot trope. I think that it's always a woman that people try to turn into a robot or try to get things to do or try to get them to do things for other people. I was reading up on the movie and he was doing this because she died and he wanted to bring her back. So, but I think a big part of it was she didn't like she died, but he brought her back without like consent. You know what I'm saying? She's back and she didn't really have a choice or a say in the matter. And now she's forced to do all these things for him as a robot.
Oh, what a fascinating take.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Again, that is the consent component never appeared in my brain once.
Me either.
Wow. Okay. So from your perspective and seeing the scene, is this how you would have envisioned transferring a soul into a robot machine, brain waves, whatever, memory, consciousness? Is this how you would have envisioned it? And what did you think about that portrayal?
I think this portrayal is better than what I envisioned it because the entire process just looked more like grueling and it looked more like the soul was actually being transferred, because now what I envision is just like a simple little, oh, we're going to copy the brain into a cloud and just plug it in and that's it. But I think that the soul and the brain is a lot more. And so I really like this depiction of it because it has like all the bubbles, all the lighting, all the like the entire process that just looks more complex, that like I think is better fitting than like a simple just plugging in process than what I envision like right now.
Have you seen The Matrix by any chance?
Yes, I have.
So, okay, so very similar to The Matrix, right? They plug in to go into this alternative world, right? Do you find that the Matrix version, again, which was 1989, I believe, or 1998, 89, 98, same to me. Those decades were blurs. No, but 1998, do you feel the Matrix depiction of the human plugging into an alternative world, and in this context, the human plugging into an AI, a physical AI, which one would you think is more realistic perception-wise to you? Or more appealing, for that matter?
More appealing? I think more appealing is the alternate universe, like, because that one you're able to be more like creative and you have more control over, what surrounds you and what you choose to do. And there's not many like limiting factors. Plugging into an AI, I can't find much like creativity in that. And I just like control more, like having control over everything around me.
Fair enough. All right, Jessica, what do you think?
Yeah, when I think of AI, I think of like limitless creativity options for me, right? I use it to take those little ideas that I have and help me kind of make them into something bigger. So very interesting. Like for me, AI, being an AI robot would be, some people I think I am now. They joke. We got one engineer that jokes I'm a robot all the time. I am not. If I was AI, I would be leveraging it in much different ways. I would be unstoppable. But just the whole transformation of Maria into this bot is, and again, just like 100 years ago, somebody had the idea that we could move intelligence into hardware, right? I mean, okay, she was the bot and it humanized her, but there was this idea where we could put intelligence into non-intelligent things. You know, in the 80s and 90s growing up, you know, there was a lot that happened, even just in the last 30 years. Cell phones, cordless. Let's start with the cordless phone, right? Cordless phone and then cell phones, internet being available to everybody. Gosh, cable TV, you know, streaming, Netflix from DVD to, you know, on your TV wherever you are. There's so many things that have happened. And again, like it has taken our generation 30 years to bring those to life. And the director, I don't know his name either, so don't worry.
Sorry, I mean,
he's
all
so
my
ahead of
movie buff
his
friends.
time. Yeah, he was so ahead of his time, but he really went through, like Tammy mentioned, this grueling process of pulling in all these different power sources and testing. You know, I don't know what he was testing, but he was testing something that looked like it was really important to bring all of these different things together to make this happen.
Yeah. It reminds me of Westworld. If you guys are familiar with Westworld. Oh my gosh, that's another movie. Oh gosh, that's a TV show and movie. I highly recommend. There's a 1970s Yul Brynner version of it, the original Westworld, and then there's the HBO Westworld. I'm obsessed with the Westworld of HBO season 1. We will review it in the future, guys, but it talks about that a little bit more, where the human consciousness going into a robot form. And are we human anymore? If our soul is in a robot form and are we human or are we not? Right? Do we have, is a sentient robot a human form thing? Like, I mean, is it, you know, where's the humanity? Where's it begin and end? Right? If a programming recognizes itself and feels emotion and whatnot. It's a really crazy conversation to think about. But okay, so Patricia, this transformation, this has got to be, I'm sure you have some thoughts on it as well.
I have actually several thoughts. I look at what this person envisioned. You know, it was made in 1927, but you figure you probably have to take it back a couple years. They probably conceptualized it and laid it out for a couple years. And I see all the bells, literal bells and whistles and switches and vials of bubbling things. And then I think this is 27. But then I think back to a couple more recent movies, at least for me, Young Frankenstein and then Princess Bride. There are both scenes in both of those movies that are not so far off as far as all the bells and whistles and bubbling things and switches and knobs from this movie in the 1927. So this guy was very ahead of his time. And then I also think about what Jessica said about testing. I've always been in technical training. So I look at that and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if I was writing the training course on how to transfer the soul from live Maria to AI Maria, just imagine how would you test that? I mean, what exactly would you use to test that process to actually get it to the point where you're actually going to be doing it? And so these are the things that were going through my mind. And then if I actually do have some AI robot type of things in my house. They have names. One's called Farm Boy and one's called Rosie, and they vacuum my house every single day. And so I was thinking, would I want an AI robot to do things for me when I'm working? I already have two iRobot vacuum cleaners. So, you know, my mother loved to vacuum. So obviously some of her got transferred into my two iRobots and keeping my house clean every day behind the scenes.
Hey, iRobot, if you want to sponsor this episode, I'm not going to say no.
Sorry, didn't mean to product place there, but they're both buzzing in the background as we're sitting here. And I'm thinking, well, would I want robots? Well, I actually do have robots doing some things for me that I don't want to do.
You just made me think, like, if anyone has an Alexa in their office, that is a robot, different function. Basically, any device we have in our household that has an IP address basically is a form of a robot, which reminds me of a movie called Maximum Overdrive. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, my boyfriend said we absolutely should do that one because he thinks it's not a great movie. Okay, it's over the top, but it's a Stephen King novel or short story that they turned into a movie in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And it's basically robots take over, like mechanical devices take over the world. So Maximum Overdrive, if anyone wants to do that episode, hit me up. But it also reminds me of the Jetsons, like you say, like Rosie the robot, right? Would we want a robotic butler or maid in that human form? Because I know there's a lot of robotic companies out there that are building these types of purpose-built tools for us. In a way, I'm surprised we don't have it already, though, right? Because you would think the Jetsons, which was the 60s.
Exactly. One of my iRobots is named Rosie after the robot maid and, babysitter and dog walker in the Jetsons. So, that was envisioned a long time ago. And then just kind of the little plug of AI. I know that people now in, my family that may not be in technology everybody's reading about AI and, it's kind of scary. And I try to tell them AI's been around for a long time. Once your phone started auto-correcting you, once spell check came, Siri's been, I don't have Siri enabled on my phone, but a lot of people do. That is just Alexa, like you said, those kinds of things. We've had AI helping us, iRobots, we've had AI helping us for a long time. It's not new. It's just becoming a little bit more mainstream.
And I think, Syya, you brought up a point like, when are we going to get there? And technologically, I would guess that we're there. Like from a technical perspective, from a do it in the machines perspective, we're there. I think what we're missing is all the bells and whistles and lights and hydro-powered capabilities that, Creepy Guy had in making the technology humanized, right? Alexa has a human voice. Our GPS has a human voice. We give our robots and our cars and our whatever names. We humanize them if they don't come humanized. And so we may technologically be there, but we have to put that human element in it. And people always say, AI, it's going to take over the world. Humans are not going to be needed. I would argue that we as humans require that human component to all that we interact with, even our AI.
Yeah, Tammy's going to have to be programming all those AI elements that are helping us around the house. They need somebody, I know that they now say that you can ask ChatGPT to do coding for you, but still there has to be a human element to test it. There has to be a human element to train on it. So we're still needed for a while.
It is. So Tammy, okay, so we just threw you under the bus there. So coding and programming and designing for something of this state. Could you envision yourself if you were working on a project? Is robotics something that you even thought about?
Yes, I have considered it in the past, and I think that even when like the beginning of AI started to happen, I was already like preparing myself like, if this job of mine is going to get like automated, I should try to adapt and just try to see what I can still do and what it like is still needed in the field. And I really like the point that Jessica brought up, because nature versus nurture. In that experiment, they had a baby monkey and there was a robot monkey with milk, and then there was just a fur monkey, but it only provided warmth. And in the experiment, even though the robot monkey had the milk for the baby monkey, it only went to the one with the fur, because I think nature. But To add on with the AI, kind of, Maria's body being used without her consent, I think I see a connection in this world today where people just post videos and pictures online, but then that will get grouped into data sets and training the AI models. And then sometimes, deepfakes are created. And then just by like posting a picture or sharing a video, your face is out there somewhere. And sometimes it can be used without your consent. And I saw that connection with them using Maria and turning her into a robot. So,
what's really interesting is, that idea of, in essence, the way your generation phrases things is ultimately what I would say my generation, by the way, I couldn't resist, had to wear it, is data and privacy, right? How much autonomy do we have over our own visage, right? How much autonomy do we have over our own voice, right? Because we know that can absolutely, whatever wants to emulate and duplicate this voice, good luck on you. But I think it's a very interesting point. And I do think I'm glad that you guys are considering and thinking that way. It is a slightly different perspective and lens, but it still matters as far as who owns this, right? Because if we give into platforms, and this is going to be streaming on, all the social media platforms, I've had to tailor it down, but like LinkedIn and YouTube, for example, we are still subject to their policies. We are still subject to what they deem is appropriate because it is owned by a private entity, right? So I love the point you make. Jessica, I would love to go back to what you made, the idea of technologically speaking, we can do the Rosie, robot and all that stuff, right? But I think, just more cynically, I'm thinking pure business. I don't think the return on investment is there yet to warrant us to mass produce these types of robots, because I think though we can do it technologically speaking, I don't know if we can do it mass. I don't think we're there yet to make it worth the business dollar investment for some billionaire to invest into. That's my argument as to why we're not there yet. Is I think the price point to pay for that technology is just, the appetite's still not fully there yet. That's and then also, let's be real, it doesn't help the robotics industry that they push out Boston Dynamics as the, use case examples, right? With those, the robot that can do flips and swing and blah, 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 right? Like, that's just freaky. So anyway, ladies, I know we can keep talking about this. So I know we unfortunately have to wrap it up, but for final thoughts, you only saw like the first clips here, but we didn't even go into the actual proper movie itself. Patricia, seeing those two clips again, would it inspire you to sit down with the kids and be like, let's do a movie night, and then hear their feedback and do your own reaction video? Is that something that you'd be interested in doing?
Are you talking about my children, or are you talking about my children's children?
Your actually give me your assessment of your children and your children's children.
I can see that except for Jessica, I could see that my other two children would get up and say, I have way more important things to do than watch something this boring. They'd be out of there. They are not people pleasers. They wouldn't do it to please me. And the grandkids, I could see maybe some of the older ones might like the darkness. I can think of a few of my older grandkids that would like the darkness. Then I can think of a few of my older grandkids that they're very much into, they would not like it. And the little ones, they'd go off and play.
Got it. Okay, Jessica, I know you watch it and you're like, oh, hell no, not again. Okay, if they did voiceovers at least, would it have given you a little bit more enjoyment with this movie?
100%.
Because you've seen it all the way through.
Yeah, and listen, I'm all up for a good subtitle movie. This even lacked in that area. I need some influence on me on what's going on, not just, maybe that's it. I was all in my mind having to think too much while being entertained. And that's not what I watch movies for.
You were missing the
Gotcha.
context.
Yeah.
But then again, they left it up to the watcher's imagination.
That too.
So
That's why I read
just
books.
think about our interpretations. We all four of us interpreted things differently.
Very much so.
So there's that.
Yeah. I love that eye of the beholder kind of leaving
Mm-hmm.
you up to think, which I think it may be for cinematographers and all my movie making friends. I'm sure that's a struggle, right? Is like, how will this movie or scene or cut be interpreted?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, Tammy, we're leaving with you because you're the coolest generation coming up here, right? What do you think?
This movie is a lot. I think people in my generation would have a harder time like sitting through the movie and finishing it because, we have this app called TikTok and it's just short videos that you swipe, and sometimes there's like 2 videos playing at once. And I think that's like heavily influenced like our younger generation's like attention span. And so I think sitting through the movie would be hard, but I think there is few people that would appreciate the movie and sit back and be like, wow, like I can't believe they predicted that all the way back then, and just really contextualize themselves and realize like how influential this movie is for being so old.
I hear you on that. You know what you just reminded me of? And again, just reminded me of how much older I am. Thanks, Tammy. But back in the day back in my day in college, we had this TV show called Friends, and we didn't have VCR. Like, we had to run in and all meet up, and we would be like, I didn't do the dorm thing, but I was a dorm groupie. So it would be like, movie nights or TV night, and we'd all run in watching this TV show together. I wonder if it would be something where Metropolis would be one of those things where it's like an event type thing, not just a... I almost said Netflix and chill. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, I see it almost like a group viewing where you guys all can talk and interact and react to it, right? Versus like you by yourself, Tammy, or you and your friend, like a friend, right? I feel like because of the pace of it, I feel like it needs commentary from you guys to keep it interesting. I don't know. Jessica, if you had a group of people watching it with you, do you think you might have gotten a little bit more out of it?
Totally. Yep. I think the movie warrants itself to conversation.
Yeah.
I could see there being a viewing down at the Majestic Theater in Dallas where everybody came dressed up almost like a Rocky Horror Picture Show thing where my son and my nephew did a Guinness Book of World Records movie marathon ages ago, and they did it for like 48 hours, and they had to have somebody sitting with them at all times. And I know Jessica got to participate in the Rocky Horror Picture Show part of it. And I could just see that. I could see this movie lending itself very well to a cult following and a lot of dialogue, people making up the dialogue as it goes. I would be engaged and I would be interested in participating in something like that. That would be fun.
Oh my gosh.
Make up your own subtitles.
Okay, that's it. We're reaching out to the Majestic people. Look, I go to the Granada all the time. We'll talk to, Mike over there. I think that's a great idea. And I think what would be really cool is if there's like, even if it's like a high school band that puts like the music together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you imagine? Or maybe it would be like segments. Maybe there might be like an orchestra, maybe in the very beginning, and then as the movie progresses, it moves into a rock band, like, right? And then maybe a theater group.
Yeah.
Maybe have the theater group like prompt everybody, but everyone's so, don't steal my idea, people. I'm thinking this is going to be a genius. Watch, someone's going to be like, it's already been done. I don't care. Dallas is going to start it all over again. Poor Tammy. She's like, I will not go. I will not go. Don't ask me.
I'd love to go.
I think it would be fun if you're right. You just made me think. Tammy, have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show? Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's another movie that I know there's some technology takeaways we can do on that. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more on the, I will definitely have to edit some of those scenes, but Oh my goodness. Okay, ladies, we can keep talking all day. We've got to wrap this up. We got to land this ship here. So on a scale of 1 to 10, now that you've seen a couple of clips, Patricia, a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate do you think this forward-thinking movie is from 1927?
I don't think it was far off. I'm still going with the 10.
Nice. Jessica?
I'm not going to change my answer either. I'm sticking with the 8. Conceptually, they had some great ideas there.
All right. Now, Tammy.
I'll be moving up my 5 to an 8 as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, you heard it. We've got all 4 generations here speaking up. Oh, wait, as Gen X, I mean, to me, I think I'd say it's a 9. It's really close. So, especially considering none of that, what we're talking about really existed. So, you're right. I'm going to go 9.57. All right, guys. So thank you so very much, Tammy, Jessica, Patricia. You guys are always welcome back to the show. I think we'll wrap that up for another episode of Technophile Real Talk. Until next time, guys.
Thank you, Syya.
Yeah.
Thank you.